Yeah, so in this video I just want to go over this, which is the Hope Pro RS4. I don't think they do a non-pro version. I think they're all called Pro now. So basically how I would describe this hub is this is equivalent to the Pro 4 Hub, but it's just for a road bike. I don't know what the S stands for, but I'm imagining the R is for road, something 4. So yeah, that's just a guess anyway. If you do know the Pro 4 stuff, then maybe you recognise this green seal from the Freehubs on the Pro 4 hubs. So that's exactly the same. This kind of area of the hub where the Freehub sits is the same. So you can fit a Pro 4 Freehub into the RS4 hub. So that's a good option if you wanted to run something that had more pawls for a higher rate of engagement, or you want to run like the XD driver. It gives you that option as well. I don't know if they do a 2-port XD driver. I'm thinking that's just a mountain bike specific thing. So yeah, the difference on these is it's got 2 pawls rather than 4. So what they're saying is that is for kind of less drag on your road bike, which I'm guessing is quite important for roadies out there. So that's kind of what it is, I guess. This specific one is basically, that would go there. So yeah, with these adapters on here, it's running quick release and it's for 130mm rear axle. But these are kind of interchangeable things, so I believe you can get them for different sizes. And also, if you look in there, you could fit a through axle in there as well. So if you did have like a, I don't know if this is a thing, I'm just assuming that some road bikes will have through axles. So if they did like a 12 times, what would it be, 12 times 130 through axle, then you could probably get the right adapters for this. Weird things, this is meant to be from the factory. I kind of bought it dismantled. It was something from eBay, but the guy said it was brand new. Something weird is the bearing here, the bearing here, and the bearing that goes in the back are all the same, so they're Hope branded. And this one's an ABEC 5 Enduro bearing. So what I'm guessing is they're all Enduro ABEC 5 bearings. It's just Hope put their seal on these ones. Maybe because they're visible, whereas this bearing is going to sit inside like that. That's what I'm thinking. So all the visible, obviously when you take the little cap off, maybe you wanted to change it, you'd be able to see the Hope logo. That's just something I noticed. That's about it really, I guess. What we're going to do is reassemble it. Like I said, I bought it like this. There was no grease on any of this stuff. There is grease in this area. So they do grease the Freehub kind of area and the system as well with the blue grease, which I do believe is mobile. Yeah, I think it's called XHP222 Grease. I think that's what they use. So what we're going to do is we are going to pop that into there. Short end goes in. Obviously the long end's for the Freehub. And we're just going to pop that there like so. And then, oh, so the bearing sizes, yeah. So we've got this little press here. All these little kind of bits for the press. And that's got your bearing size on there. So it's a 1728. And what the bearings are, they're 7mm thick. So if you look for a 17 times 28 times 7 bearing on Google, or whatever search engine you use, you'll be able to find options for that. Stainless steel ABEC 5. That's what I'm guessing these ones are. Whatever you want to run is up to you. And as you can see, if you did need to, if we can get this axle out now, if you did have this bearing here and you wanted to press it in, it's quite easy to do with a press. So you can pop that in there. Obviously you could find a socket or something like that if you've got something. And what I mean by that is a socket that fits on to like a ratchet system. Something like this, but obviously a bigger one that would go in there. What you don't want to do is, you don't want to find a socket that's going to press on the black seal because it could damage it. You need a socket that's going to sit on the metal areas. But that's kind of why I use a press, just to be a bit more accurate with things. So yeah, there would be that option. But if you look at this one, we're going to pop that bearing on there. Like I said, I'm not going to run any grease on these bearings. I'm just going to leave them how they came out. what I tend to find anyway is if you put grease on them, once you press them into place, the grease is just going to get pushed out of the area. So it's a little bit, I don't know if it works or not ultimately. So yeah, you can see this isn't going to work on this system. So what you need is something like this, which is actually a Hope tool. It's an old one from the Pro 2 era. And that's just going to go on there, and it gives you a little bit of space. I think we're going to run out of space on this one. And then what we're going to do on this side is, I'm probably going to have to run a socket on there, so I don't think I have anything. So what I'll do is get the socket, get that set up, and then I'll show you what that looks like. So yeah, it's a little bit long-winded. What I found is this socket, which is a 21mm, will fit in there, and it won't move around too much, so that's pretty cool. You can kind of hear it's actually hitting on the metal part of the bearing, which is exactly what I wanted. Obviously you need a socket that's going to have a bit of length on it, otherwise you're going to bottom out on this area. If you've got a little short socket, you need it to actually touch the bearing, otherwise you're going to end up pushing on the axle. And then on this side we're going to run that, but we might need to run this, it depends how deep the bearing goes. So what I will do is I'll just run that like that anyway. I'm just going to grab a little press, which is a eBay Chinese special, which has actually been a great investment. I think it was only about £25 and you get loads of these basically with it. You must get about 20 or 30 of them for some of the most common sizes. So yeah, it's pretty cool. What I'm going to do is thread that through there. Obviously when you don't run a specific tool, you do get this kind of thing, which is not that great, but because this bearing is already in and it's nice and straight, we shouldn't have too much problem with that. If the bearing wasn't in, you might find that the socket starts to move and then it ends up pressing this bearing in at a wonky angle, so it's best to take your time with it. Just do it slowly and then kind of work your way into it. I might need to just do that. Oh no, it's not going to be long enough to grab on there, so we might have to tighten it a little bit, and then we'll come back to it if we need to do more. Like I said, try and line everything up to be as straight as possible. I just want to kind of, can we get a shot on that? Probably can't even see which part's the bearing, can you, on that? And just make sure when you kind of feel a bit of resistance that it's not kind of a lot. You want to be able to kind of turn it easily. What you can tend to feel the bearing moving in there, or in the actual hub as you do it. You kind of feel a little kind of on the tool. It's hard to describe. But yeah, that's about as far as I want to go on that one. Take that off, have a little look at it. I might just want to run that if I've got enough space, just to make sure it's on there and it's seated kind of as deep as it needs to go. And it's very difficult on a camera to actually express or show how tight you need to do bearings, but you'll know, you should know anyway. I've got to this point now and it takes more effort to turn it than it did before. So that's what I'm saying. There's no point wrenching it up, you're just going to do damage. The best thing I can do is probably show you how deep it is, and then you can kind of make your judgment from there. So there is your bearing fitted in there. See what a GoPro zoom's like, probably rubbish, but. And you can see on the inside of the Freehub there's like this chamfered edge, and basically the bearing sits at the bottom of that chamfered edge. So yeah, that seems to be good to me. I have no problems with that. And then what we have is this, which is a 1mm washer. It's a spacer. It essentially stops this kind of face hitting into the hub. I'm just going to drop that onto there. And this is going to be sealed now, so I'm just going to try and run some of that grease. So yeah, this is the stuff I was talking about. It's like a blue grease, and I'm pretty sure that's the stuff they use, but it could be anything. There we go. Hopefully that's kind of... I'm just going to put 4 blobs. Obviously it's going to move around in there and spread that out anyway. But I don't think you want to put too much in there. Some people can say that it will stop the paws from working. There's quite a bit of grease on these paws, so I'm not going to re-grease them. Same thing, you don't want too much in there. And when you fit it, essentially just turn it the way the paws are going to slide rather than clicking. So we chop that onto there, and we're going to basically turn it like that, and that sits into there. Now what you have is this Labyrinth seal, which can be a right bugger. There is a proper tool for this once again that you can buy. And I think once again I have no idea where I've put it, but sometimes you can get away with just pressing this into place. But yeah, it's kind of difficult. Some of them are very easy, others are a bit of a nightmare. What I'm going to do is grab the tool, because ultimately the tool is there to stop you from damaging them. If you don't have the tool, then yeah, you're probably just going to have to press around and try and follow that around. So let me grab the tool. Yeah, so this is the proper, I say proper, it's the tool that Hope do. And you can maybe see on there, but it actually says Pro 2/Pro 4 seal tool, and that just goes over the Freehub like that. I'm just going to grab a bit of wood so that we don't damage the axle. And if we do have a hammer somewhere, the idea is that you kind of give that a little tap and it will set the whole thing into the correct space. What I'm going to do is just undo it a little bit. There we go. I don't want it, I don't really want to start with it being too deep in there. There we go. And here's a moment of truth. I think I've only used this tool maybe once before. Doesn't really give you a lot of space between the top of the tool and the Freehub. Here we go, got there. I wasn't too happy about using it. There we go. I just didn't want to damage it. I felt like I was going to damage it, but it didn't. And that is essentially it, really. We're just going to put our little end cap on. Make sure it's nice and flush there. And then we've got our end cap for the Freehub side. And that just sticks on. And then what you have is a little bit of a weird looking kind of hub with this long bit, but that's ultimately it, the RS4 from Hope.